Brownies are my go-to whether I need a quick dessert or quick chocolate fix. My recipe uses just a few ingredients to make a rich, moist, fudgy brownie that will serve all your chocolate needs. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today, I'm feeling a little indulgent, so we're going to make homemade brownies. Let's get started. Brownies are very easy to make, especially my recipe. First thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees or 180 Celsius. Next, I like to prepare my pan and get that out of the way. I'm using my little 9x9 pan or 23 by 23 centimeters, and I just gave it a spray with some cooking spray with flour. We're just going to put this aside. We'll come back to that. Now I have this contraption here. This is called a double boiler. It's a heat-proof bowl on top of a pot of water that's barely simmering, and you don't want the water coming up over the sides. You want just the steam from the water to heat the bowl. We use this to melt things like we're going to melt our chocolate. Speaking of chocolate, I have 3 ounces or 84 grams of unsweetened chocolate. That's very important that it's unsweetened because we're going to be adding sugar later. So this is going to go right in. Now you find that in the baking supplies. To that, we want to add some butter. I have 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. 6 tablespoons is also 90 grams by weight. Right in. Now we're just going to give this a little stir, and it starts melting almost immediately. The butter is going to help it not seize up. It's going to make it glossy, rich, and wonderful. So this takes a few minutes, but it's worth the effort. Almost there. Here we are, all melted. This took about 5 minutes to melt, and I just stirred it constantly to keep it all mixed together. Now I'm going to leave this on the heat. I'm going to turn off the burner and leave it on this double boiler for a few minutes while we add our sugar. Here I have 2 cups or 430 grams of granulated sugar, or in some places it's called caster sugar. We're going to put this right in and give it a good stir. Now, being on the hot water, it's going to help it combine a little bit, but stirring up like this is also going to help that chocolate cool down a little bit. I just want to get it going. Here we go. Now I'm going to remove this from the heat. Do use mitts if it's too hot for you. I'm going to give this another stir. Just help it cool down a little bit. Pretty simple so far. Now I know you're thinking, this doesn't look like brownies, but trust me, it will. To this, I'm going to add some vanilla. 2 teaspoons, not a lot, but a good amount, right in. Then I have 4 large eggs that I've just beaten up, right in. And we're going to give this a good stir because you don't want that warm chocolate and sugar to cook those eggs. So constantly stirring it will, again, temper it, bring the temperature down, get it all combined and amalgamated. Okay, all mixed in. I'm going to put this aside for a moment. Now we can talk dry ingredients. I have in this bowl 1.5 cups or 190 grams of all-purpose flour. I'm using all-purpose flour instead of cake flour because cake flour is too soft and it'll make for a very soft, crumbly brownie. I want a chewier brownie. To that, I'm adding 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, right in, and some salt, just 1/2 teaspoon. Salt is going to help that sweetness come out, balance everything. I'm going to give this a little whisk just to combine it. That's all it needs. Now, back to this. I'm going to add the dry into the wet and start to combine. So right in, and we're just going to mix this up. This just takes a couple moments. Don't be frightened. Don't worry if you splash some flour on the counter. It's all good. All right, a little patience, a little perseverance. Just after a couple minutes, it comes together. You've got brownie batter. So I'm just trying to work out any last little specks of flour that I see, and that's looking pretty good. And the smell, the chocolate and vanilla, oof, it's wonderful. Finally, I'm going to add some walnuts. I have a cup of walnuts here, and this weighs out to about 100 grams of chopped walnuts. This is optional. If you don't like them or you can't have nuts, leave them out. You can use pecans or almonds. I like walnuts. Right in. Give this all a quick stir to combine. That's it. Now into our pan and then to the oven. So here's our pan. That again, I already sprayed with cooking spray with flour. Right in. Do your best to get every last little bit. Here's my pan of brownies, all ready for the oven. A little tap, get any air bubbles out. And then off to the oven for about 30 minutes. I'm going to start checking them at 20, 25 with a toothpick. When the toothpick comes out clean, it's done. Now I tell you 30 minutes, but your oven is different than mine. It may run hotter, it may run cooler, so start checking at around the 20-minute mark. Off to the ovens. Well, it's been 30 minutes. Our brownies are out of the oven, and then I've been letting them rest here on this wire rack for another 10 minutes. So they're nice and cool. Everything's relaxed. And look how gorgeous they are. Ooh, and the smell. Ooh. But now we need to get them out of this pan. So even though I sprayed it, I'm going to use my little spatula here just to give a little assurance. Make sure nothing for any reason sticks. Now here's how we're going to do this. Put this on my board. I'm going to take my rack on top of the pan and we're going to flip it over. Now this is cool enough that I can touch it with my bare hands. Whoop, did you hear that? Fingers crossed, kids. Yay! All right. We'll get rid of that. And we're going to do the same thing. Put my board on top. And we're just going to flip it over. And here we are. Look at this one big brownie. Oh, let's give it a cut. Now I like bigger brownies, so I'm going to cut about thirds-ish. Doesn't have to be exact. Now I can already tell these are just the way I like them. There's a little crispiness on the top, and they are fudgy, moist on the inside. Okay, I'm going to turn my whole board, and we'll do thirds this way too, or close enough to thirds. And don't worry about some of it crackling like that. That's what it's supposed to do. Alrighty, now you know what's coming up. It's the tasting time. So I'm going to steal this piece right here. No one will notice. Look at that, moist, fudgy. Break this apart. Ooh, look at that. Let me give it a little taste. Wow. These are still warm, and they're wonderful. It's rich. Chocolate. The nuts give a little crunch. They're not too sweet. They're very rich and unctuous and wonderful. This will make you throw out those box mixes every single time. But you know, you need a little wine to wash it down. Chocolate and red wine. A match made in heaven. We will see you on Tuesdays for our regular episodes and Fridays for Basic Skills or Cocktail Fridays. Now, while I enjoy my brownie, I want you to go and watch some of these episodes over here. Till next time, cheers!